Another video on everybody's favorite topic, Arch Manning. And boy, do we have some big news to cover on this one. We've got some massive recruiting updates as Arch continues to visit schools, it seems, just about every weekend, and information gets leaked out. In this video, we're mainly going to be focusing on 3 schools currently ranked in order as his top 3 according to Rivals. But I know everyone wants to hear something from their favorite school, so we'll include tidbits on others as well, and the chances of a shakeup within that top 3. So let's begin with the number 3 ranked school. We talked about Texas a decent amount in the last video, and I was selling myself and you on the idea that Texas was a serious contender. Clearly, if they're number 3 currently, that puts them in solid position, but the next 2 will be hard to top. At the center of a potential Arch commitment to the Longhorns is his relationship with Steve Sarkisian. Here's what one Rivals analyst said. Texas absolutely has a realistic shot with Manning, and the vibe I get is that anyone who thinks Texas is playing second fiddle is underestimating the Longhorns' chances. Manning and his camp are never going to tip their hands too much, but he did just spend multiple days in Austin, and those who spent time around him felt like the Longhorns are in a pretty good spot in this one. Steve Sarkisian's reputation for developing quarterbacks has to help UT's chances, as does the fact that Manning has already struck up a friendship with some players that Texas is recruiting. Now, the main player this guy's alluding to is Ruben Owens, who we mentioned in the last video as being buddies with Arch. Since that video and the time this guy wrote this piece, Owens has actually reopened his recruitment, which is a bad sign for Texas, not only because they probably lost a 5-star running back, but there's also a fear that Owens and Arch could pair up elsewhere. Now, Owens was at the recruiting weekend in Austin with Arch, and his father said Texas is still the leader for his recruitment, but it's not like those words mean much anymore. According to 24/7 Sports, schools strongly in the mix for Owens include Alabama, Texas A&M, Georgia, and USC. All 4 of those schools have been connected with Arch. But still, back to Texas, they reportedly pulled out all the stops when the Mannings came to town. Arch's high school coach told The Athletic that the Texas staff have done a marvelous job of building a relationship with Arch, and Texas brought out Earl Campbell, a former Oiler teammate of Archie Manning, and Vince Young. Rivals National Recruiting Director Adam Gorney has Texas ranked 3rd on his list. He said there's no question the Longhorns rolled out the red carpet for Manning that weekend, and his trip and workout went well. The Mannings obviously know what they're doing though, and the Longhorns will need to show they can become a national power again before I see the 2023 5-star playing for them. Gorney has Alabama ranked number 2 on his list. Arch's last visits in June were at Alabama and Georgia, and Arch's coach said those 2 schools were listed as priorities, while Auburn and North Carolina, he said, were getting squeezed in. It's similar to how Arch visited SMU on a Thursday before the big Texas weekend. We're getting a lot of information out of how long he's staying at these schools. On the Alabama front, the idea of seriously competing for a title every single year has obviously resonated with Arch. The Mannings had dinner with the Tide's NFL caliber coaching staff. Arch spoke with current players and watched an Alabama practice. And we got a little glimpse of Arch in an Alabama jersey, which is obviously something the rest of the college football world never wanted to see. I feel like I had to talk about Texas more to get people to understand why they are this high on his list, whereas with Alabama and our current number 1 school, there isn't really much to be said about why a recruit would opt for them, because these 2 schools, with them, it's kinda obvious. It's worth noting that Arch has looked up to Trevor Lawrence in the past, and has attempted to model some of his game after him. And with the success Lawrence had at Clemson, winning a championship and becoming a number 1 pick, wouldn't it make sense for Arch to follow suit? Arch's Clemson visit was as good as it gets. Dabo Swinney was quick to bring up the Clemson culture he's built, and of course Lawrence as well. On top of that, Arch has even said in the past that he loves Swinney just like everyone else does. And it sounds like his family thinks he would fit in well at Clemson after he had a blast on campus. So why Clemson at number 1? Well, first it's worth saying that these rankings could change. Arch is staying open-minded, but right now when you look at Clemson's recent history and grabbing the number 1 ranked quarterback and the way Arch speaks so highly of that program, the Tigers would be pretty hard to top, although I think Alabama and especially Texas have done a wonderful job at putting themselves right up there as well. Elsewhere, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Stanford, and USC are still the big 4 schools outside the South. It sounds like he could visit them toward the end of July. I'd say one of those schools would have to blow him away when he does get around to seeing them if they want a chance at hopping one of the big 3 we talked about today, or even topping a family-connected school like Ole Miss. I think the other 2 schools you could argue as being listed in the top 5 right now would be Georgia and LSU. 24/7 Sports had a report saying Arch loves Athens, Georgia, and his family has numerous connections with the Georgia coaching staff. And Arch has had a long and strong relationship with Ed Orgeron, so I would still put LSU in serious consideration. I have no doubt that both those schools would make Arch's self-imposed top 10 cutoff at the end of the summer. So let me know what you guys think. Which school do you think has the best chance of moving up and snagging the most hyped up recruit of all time? How important do you think the family connections are when it comes to Ole Miss and Tennessee? Let me know all that. Also, I wanted to let everyone know that I decided to create a separate channel for my short videos. I feel like they're a good way to be a part of your entertainment more often, so I'll include a link in the description and comments for that. And you can also catch exclusive content on my TikTok as well. So if you want more Chase chats in your life, and I don't know why you wouldn't, then be sure to subscribe and follow both of those accounts as well. Did you know the Patriots were once banned from Monday Night Football? For 14 straight years, there was no prime time in Foxborough. Back in 1981, the crowds were far different than what you experience today. With so much drinking and rowdy behavior for a team caught in an era of misery, the town of Foxborough was forced to ban the stadium from hosting Monday Night Football because of the lawless behavior after dark. Maybe no other story better illustrates this than the goalpost game in 1985. After clinching a playoff berth, Patriots fans raided the field and took down the goalpost. These geniuses then had the bright idea of carrying the post out of the stadium, and they somehow succeeded. That is until they struck a 20,000 volt power line. After injuries, both the town and stadium security firm were sued for multi-million-dollar awards. Follow for more content just like this.